"Excuse me?" The flight attendant's voice slices through the hum of the terminal. Her smile looks polished, but her eyes, they flicker with something colder. "First-class boarding is over. Economy is that way." Dr. Carter glances down at his daughter. Maya squeezes his hand tighter, her small fingers trembling around the faded toy giraffe. "We have first-class seats," he says softly, offering the tickets. Her eyes dart from the paper to his face, then to Maya's hair, her dark curls pressed under bright airport light. "Oh," she says with a half-laugh. "I just wanted to be sure." Silence folds between them, that strange, heavy kind that fills every corner without needing words. A nearby passenger lowers his phone. Another woman pretends not to hear. Carter kneels beside his daughter. "It's okay, baby," he whispers. "Sometimes people forget how to see." Maya's lips part, confused. "See what?" "The truth," he says, rising slowly. The attendant shifts, her practiced smile faltering for a heartbeat. She steps aside, gesturing stiffly. "You can go through." Carter doesn't respond. He walks past her, calm and deliberate. Behind them, whispers begin to rise, quiet, scattered, uncertain. The gate door closes, but the tension doesn't. It lingers, suspended like air before a storm. Maya tugs on her father's sleeve once they reach the jet bridge. "Did we do something wrong?" He exhales, looking ahead. "No," he says. "We just reminded someone that we belong." The hum of the engines grows louder. The light from outside softens against the narrow glass walls. For a moment, everything feels still. The calm before the world decides whether to look away or finally see. Claire leans forward, her badge glinting under the fluorescent light. "Such a sweet girl," she says, her voice dipped in honey but edged with something sharp. "Traveling to... where was it again?" Dr. Carter's jaw tightens. "Atlanta?" "Oh," Claire replies softly, glancing at the child's frayed toy. "First class is usually full of frequent flyers. You must be on a special trip." Her smile doesn't fade, it just freezes. That kind of smile isn't warmth. It's a performance. Around them, passengers sense the shift. Some look away. Some pretend to scroll through phones, but their silence says enough. Maya looks up, puzzled by the strange music in the woman's tone. "Daddy, why's she talking like that?" She whispers too loudly. Claire's cheeks stiffen. "Children are so curious," she says, still smiling. "You'll have to teach her about quiet manners up there." Dr. Carter's voice stays steady, softer than hers but heavier. "Respect isn't learned in altitude, Ms. Dawson. It's learned in silence, when people think no one's listening." For a flicker, her expression breaks. Something uneasy beneath the polish. She steps back, forcing a laugh. "Enjoy your flight." As they walk past, Claire's grin lingers, but the warmth is gone. It's the kind of smile that hides behind rules and policies, the kind that wounds without words. In the cabin, Maya curls into her seat, clutching her toy tighter. "She didn't like us," she murmurs. Dr. Carter looks toward the aisle where Claire stands greeting other passengers, her mask firmly back in place. "That's all right," he says quietly. Sometimes people smile when they're scared to see who they've become. Outside, the engines start to hum, calm on the surface, heavy beneath. Maya's voice is barely louder than a breath. "Daddy, did I do something wrong?" The question slices through the low hum of the boarding gate. Conversations falter. A man lowers his newspaper. A woman near the window looks away, pretending to scroll her phone. Silence spreads like fog, quiet, awkward, heavy. Dr. Carter kneels, his calm face shadowed with a pain too familiar. "No, sweetheart." "You didn't do anything wrong." Maya frowns, her small hands clutching the stuffed elephant tighter. But she looked mad. "Like I broke a rule." "She was wrong, not you," he says softly. "Sometimes people forget how to see others as people." Across the counter, Claire busies herself with a stack of papers that don't need sorting. Her ears burn, but she keeps her posture straight. Perfect, professional. Her training taught her how to handle passengers, not her conscience. A nearby traveler mutters, "It's not that serious." Another whispers, "Still, That tone was off. The quiet murmur of witnesses grows, not loud enough to defend, just enough to distance themselves. Dr. Carter lifts Maya's chin, his voice steady. "You see that plane?" She nods. "That's where we're going. Up, always up. No one can tell us where we belong." Maya nods, her eyes searching his face for truth she can trust. Behind them, Claire exhales sharply, her confidence faltering. She glances around. No one meets her eyes. The power she wore like a badge starts to feel like a stain. Maya's question still echoes in the stillness of the terminal. Fragile, piercing, unforgettable. Sometimes prejudice doesn't shout. It hides behind politeness, smiles, and uniforms, and it takes a child's voice to expose how cruel that silence truly is. The first camera lifts quietly, almost uncertain, a teenager near the gate, phone half hidden behind a coffee cup. Then another follows and another. The air shifts. The kind of silence that usually ends an argument now begins a reckoning. Claire straightens her vest, flashing her badge like a shield. "Sir, I'm just following protocol," she says, each word slower, louder, for the cameras now. Her smile trembles but refuses to fall. Dr. Carter doesn't move. His eyes rest on her, calm but piercing, the kind of gaze that says more than outrage ever could. "Protocol," he repeats softly, as though testing the weight of the word. "That's what they call it now?" Someone whispers behind them. "Is she serious?" Another murmurs. "Man, she's really doing this on camera?" Claire's throat tightens. "Sir, if you could please step aside." He cuts her off with quiet authority. "No, just one word. No anger, no volume, just presence." The murmurs grow, shifting like wind through the terminal. Every tap of a record button feels heavier, more permanent. Claire senses it, the narrative slipping from her grasp. Her hand twitches toward her earpiece. "I need a supervisor," she mutters, but no one responds. The staff at the counter look away, suddenly busy, pretending to type. The hierarchy she trusted starts to crumble, inch by inch. Dr. Carter gently places his hand on Maya's shoulder. "Come on, sweetheart. Let's give her a chance to remember her humanity." As they move past, Claire freezes, realizing too late that she's not in control of this story anymore. The cameras don't blink. They never do. In that captured stillness, dignity becomes louder than any defense she could ever offer. Claire's lips part, but no sound comes. The weight in Dr. Carter's words lingers, not loud, not vengeful, just inevitable. The kind of truth that doesn't need to be shouted to echo. "I was just..." she begins, her voice trembling, searching for something to hold on to. "It wasn't personal." Dr. Carter tilts his head almost gently. "That's the problem," he says. "It never is, until it is." The crowd stays silent, phone still raised, recording every fragment of her unraveling. A flight attendant near the counter whispers, "Just let him go, Claire," but she can't. Not now. Not with all those eyes on her. "I was following orders," she insists, more to herself than to him. "There are procedures." He steps closer, close enough that she feels the quiet power of restraint. "And one day," he murmurs, "when the rules turn on you, I hope someone looks at you and remembers your face right now." Her chest tightens. "You're threatening me." "No," he says simply. "I'm reminding you." A pause stretches between them, long, raw, unforgiving. The airport hum fades beneath it. Somewhere, a boarding call blares over the speakers, indifferent to the moment. Maya tugs at his sleeve. "Daddy, can we go?" Dr. Carter nods softly. "Yes, sweetheart." "We've already been seen." He walks away, leaving Claire standing in the hollow space between authority and shame. Her radio crackles faintly, a supervisor's voice asking, "Everything okay down there?" She can't answer. The rules she clung to suddenly feel like a cage built in her own image, and somewhere deep inside that silence, she begins to understand. Dignity isn't quiet because it's weak. It's quiet because it doesn't need to shout to be heard. "Morning, Claire," the gate agent called, handing her the flight manifest. She smiled. That same perfected smile that had softened every complaint before it ever reached her file. "Morning," she replied, her tone warm, Her eyes rehearsed. Behind her, a junior attendant whispered, "Another report came in yesterday." Claire heard it, of course, but didn't turn. She'd learned early. Silence was armor. At the counter, an older woman from HR stood flipping through papers. "Just a few notes, Claire," she said lightly, though her eyes avoided direct contact. "You know how passengers exaggerate." Claire nodded. "Of course. People are sensitive these days." The woman hesitated. "Still, maybe just be mindful with tone." "There was mention of rudeness?" Claire interrupted, a soft laugh breaking through. That word's lost all meaning. The woman smiled weakly, signed a form, and moved on. Claire turned toward the window, watching the plane's taxi. In her reflection, her smile lingered, perfect, professional, untouched. She thought of the girl from last week, the one who cried quietly when told she couldn't sit near the front. Claire had told herself it wasn't personal. It never was. Her phone buzzed, another internal memo, another passenger concern. She swiped it away, unread. "People make things up," she muttered, always looking for a reason to play victim. The young attendant from earlier passed by again, eyes down. "You okay, Claire?" Claire's lips curved slightly. "Always," she said. "Some of us have to be." Her badge caught the morning light, senior flight attendant, 10 years of service. She wore it like proof, not pride, and beneath that smile, behind all the polished calm, the quiet arrogance of safety hummed, believing the system would always side with her kind of grace. The meeting room smelled faintly of burnt coffee and air conditioning. Claire sat across from her supervisor, arms neatly folded, expression calm. The man avoided her eyes, flipping through a thin stack of papers, complaint forms that never seemed to go anywhere. "Another passenger report," he murmured. "It's similar to the others." Claire tilted her head, almost amused. "Rude? Uncooperative? Unsafe? They pick a new word every time." He sighed softly. "You've been with us a long time, Claire. You know how these things work. Some people misunderstand tone. I'm just firm," she said. "Passengers think that means something else." He nodded slowly. "Exactly. And we know your record speaks for itself." The phrase landed the same way it always did, like a shield. "So we're done here?" she asked, already standing. He hesitated. "Just be cautious. People record everything now." "I have nothing to hide," she replied, her voice steady but eyes sharp. In the break room, 2 attendants lowered their voices as she entered. "Did you hear about the girl from 14B? Filed a complaint. HR closed it in a day," the other snorted. "Don't bother filing. The sky always covers for her." Claire poured herself coffee, pretending not to hear. She didn't need to. She'd heard it all before. The whispers, the looks, the quiet resentment dressed as politeness. Later, alone in the corridor, she checked her reflection in the dark window. "They just don't get it," she whispered. "You have to keep control, always." And somewhere deep down she believed it. That control was virtue, that her calm smile was fairness. That the silence protecting her wasn't privilege. It was merit. The morning light cut through Claire's blinds, landing directly on her phone, vibrating non-stop. She blinked at the screen half asleep until she saw it. Her face, frozen mid-sentence, eyes sharp, hand pointing toward a trembling little girl. The caption below read, "Flight attendant removes black autistic child from first class." Her breath hitched. She scrolled, again and again. Thousands of comments, tens of thousands of shares. "Fire her. Typical. 10 years of hiding behind policy, yet now we see you." "Jesus," she whispered. Her phone buzzed again, a call from her supervisor. She answered. "Claire," his voice was low, exhausted. "It's everywhere. I followed procedure," she said quickly. "That's all I did." "I know what you think you did," he said. "But that's not what people saw." She stared at the wall, the hum of the refrigerator filling the silence. "So what happens now?" "HR wants you to stay home." No statements. "No interviews?" Claire swallowed hard. "They'll fix it, right? They'll tell the truth?" He hesitated. "It's bigger than that now." Her hand trembled as she refreshed the feed. Every scroll was another version of her, edited, captioned, condemned. The internet didn't need context. It needed a villain. She whispered to herself, "I didn't mean..." But the words dissolved into air. Across the city, strangers debated her humanity between ads and memes. The company remained silent. And for the first time, the silence didn't protect her. It erased her. Claire turned off her phone, the reflection of her own frightened face lingering in the black screen. For the first time in her career, control was gone, and the sky she'd trusted had finally turned on her. The world screamed, hashtags burned, and news anchors debated, but Dr. Carter stayed silent. He sat in his study, the glow of the TV flickering across his calm face. Maya slept upstairs, her small hand still clutching the stuffed bear she refused to let go of. The phone on his desk buzzed again, journalists, colleagues, board members, all demanding a comment. He didn't answer. Instead, he opened his laptop and stared at a spreadsheet, routes, investments, contracts. His name appeared quietly across more than half the airline's international partnerships. A soft knock broke the silence. His assistant's voice trembled through the door. "Sir, the media's waiting. Should I prepare a statement?" He didn't look up. "No statement," he said, voice even. "But sir..." "Not a word," he interrupted, eyes still on the screen. "Let them listen to silence for once." She hesitated, then left. He typed a short email, only one sentence. "Effective immediately, my company withdraws financial support from all Sky Connect routes." No signature. No explanation. Just quiet, deliberate consequence. He leaned back, exhaled slowly. Somewhere in a glass office miles away, Claire's supervisor read the same email, face draining of color. He whispered, "God help us." Back in the study, Dr. Carter closed the laptop, eyes heavy but steady. Justice didn't need noise. It needed weight. He looked at a photo of Maya on the desk, smiling wide before the world turned cruel. "This isn't revenge," he murmured. "It's correction." Outside, planes roared overhead. For now. But the silence beneath them carried something heavier. The quiet power of a man who didn't need to shout to be heard. The silence inside the crew lounge was heavier than the jet engines outside. Claire sat alone, hands folded tight, watching her untouched coffee cool. Every few seconds, someone walked in, grabbed something, and walked out. No greetings, no nods. Just that thick, invisible wall of knowing. "Morning," she whispered out of habit. No one answered. A flight attendant she used to laugh with, Sarah, paused at the door, met her eyes for half a second, then turned away. That look hurt more than the headlines. Claire tried to smile, tried to remind herself she wasn't the monster they painted her to be. But the mirror across the room disagreed. The woman staring back looked older, defeated, smaller. Her crisp uniform no longer felt like pride. It felt like a disguise she wasn't allowed to take off. Her phone buzzed. "Supervisor, text, Flight 212 reassigned. Take rest days until further notice." She typed back, "Is this temporary?" Then erased it. What was the point? They weren't talking to her anymore. They were just waiting for her to fade out quietly. She stood, looking at the framed airline motto on the wall. "Above all, we care." The words now felt cruel. A junior attendant brushed past her, muttering, "Guess caring has levels, huh?" Claire didn't reply. The sting in her throat said enough. As she walked out, the corridor lights flickered. Every step echoed, sharp, hollow, a reminder of distance that respect leaves behind once trust breaks. In her car mirror, she caught her reflection again. For the first time, she didn't fix her hair or her smile. She just stared, as if meeting the version of herself she could no longer defend. The clicking of cameras filled the air like static, sharp, endless, merciless. Claire sat at the long table, fingers pressed together, knuckles white. Across from her, the board members whispered in low, clipped tones. Every sound, every sigh, felt like a verdict. Her throat was dry. Her voice, when it finally came, cracked before the words did. I I didn't mean for it to happen that way, she managed, eyes flicking to Dr. Carter, seated near the front. His face was calm, unreadable, the kind of silence that weighed heavier than words. One of the board members leaned forward. "Ms. Reed, do you understand the magnitude of your actions?" She nodded quickly. "I do. I swear, I thought—" "You thought wrong!" Another cut in, sharp, cold. "And now this airline bleeds because of that thought." Claire's lips trembled. "I'm sorry." Dr. Carter didn't move. Not even a blink. Just that quiet, steady presence, like a mountain refusing to be moved by apology. His silence pierced more than anger ever could. The chairman shifted. "Dr. Carter, as the affected party, do you wish to speak?" The room froze. All cameras turned. Claire's breath caught. He looked at her, not with hate, not with pity, just a kind of tired clarity. "No," he said simply. "I've already said everything I needed to," in silence. The click of his pen echoed like a gavel. He stood, slow, measured, and left the room without another word. Claire's eyes followed him until the door shut. The whispers returned, softer this time, almost pitying. For the first time, she realized what true punishment felt like. Not being shouted at, but being quietly erased by the man she had wronged. Dr. Carter's voice was calm. Too calm. The kind that stripped excuses bare. "You didn't see a child," he said, eyes fixed on Claire. "You saw a label." The words hung in the air, thick and heavy. Claire's lips parted, trembling. "I didn't mean—" He raised a hand, quiet but firm. "Intent doesn't erase impact." The boardroom seemed to stop breathing. Even the ceiling lights buzzed softer, as if the air itself had bowed its head. She swallowed hard. "That's not fair." "Neither is what my daughter went through," he said, steady, almost whispering. "Do you know what silence sounds like when a child stops trusting the world?" No one moved. The cameras, the pens, the murmurs, all gone. Just two people, a wound, and truth standing between them. "I didn't know she was your daughter," Claire said, her voice breaking under its own weight. "That shouldn't have mattered," he replied. "Respect isn't earned by power. It's owed by decency." He didn't shout. He didn't glare. But his stillness had gravity. It pulled the room into a kind of shame. A board member cleared his throat, almost afraid to speak. "Dr. Carter, your decision regarding the airline's contract—" Dr. Carter looked at him, cutting gently through the tension. "It's not about contracts anymore. It's about conscience." Then he turned back to Claire, voice low, final. "You've already been judged, not by me, but by the silence you created." She looked down, hands shaking, realizing that justice doesn't always arrive with anger. Sometimes. It comes dressed as quiet truth. The badge hit the table with a dull thud, the sound of an ending disguised as policy. Claire stood frozen, fingers still hovering where it once hung over her chest. The HR officer avoided her eyes. "You understand the decision," he said quietly. Claire nodded, but her throat burned. "Yes," she whispered. The logo behind her flickered on the wall, once a mark of pride, now fractured by shadows. The screen came to life. Maya's face appeared, calm, bright, unaware of the storm her innocence had stirred. Claire's breath caught. For a moment, the boardroom disappeared, and all she saw was the child she had judged without knowing. Dr. Carter sat at the end of the long table. He didn't look at her. He didn't need to. His silence filled the space where outrage might have lived. "I never wanted this to happen," Claire said, voice trembling. He finally looked up, his gaze steady, almost kind. "Neither did she," he replied. Her lips parted, searching for words, but none came. "The world doesn't always break loudly," he continued softly. "Sometimes it just stops trusting you." The HR officer cleared his throat. "Claire, your clearance—" She held up a hand, stopping him. "It's fine." Her voice cracked on the second word. "I've already lost more than a job," Dr. Carter stood. "Then maybe you've learned something a paycheck couldn't teach." She nodded slowly, eyes glistening. "I saw a label." "Not a child," he didn't answer. He simply gave a small nod, the kind that carried both grace and closure. As she turned to leave, the airline's slogan flickered one last time behind her. Fly beyond. It felt like mockery now, a promise she'd never kept. ChatGPT said, the grocery bag tore open, apples rolling across the pavement, but no one came to help. Claire bent slowly, her fingers trembling as she picked them up one by one. From across the street, Mrs. Harper's curtains shifted, a glance, a judgment, and then a quiet retreat. Claire whispered, "Morning, Mrs. Harper," even though she knew the answer. None came. Just the hum of a lawnmower somewhere down the block, drowning out what used to be friendly chatter. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. For a moment, her heart leaped. Maybe someone finally called, but the screen showed nothing. No texts, no voicemails, just the echo of her own reflection in the black glass. She walked past the park, where a group of mothers gathered by the swings. Their voices lowered as she passed. "That's her," someone muttered. Another replied, "I saw the video." She smiled while doing it. Claire froze. Her throat tightened, but she didn't turn around. Inside her home, the silence waited like an old friend she never wanted back. The framed picture of her in uniform stared down from the hallway, polished shoes, perfect smile, the illusion of control. She sat on the edge of her couch, the air heavy. The television murmured in the background, another anchor discussing the incident. She muted it, but the words stayed in her head. Disgraced flight attendant. Public outrage continues. Her eyes drifted to her old badge on the table. For a long time, she just looked at it, not with pride, not even with anger, just quiet disbelief. A single line escaped her lips, barely a whisper. "It's not the world that stopped calling. It's me they stopped hearing." And the silence answered back. The glass of the airport window shimmered with sunset light, streaks of gold tracing along Dr. Carter's face. He sat still, hands clasped, eyes following the planes lifting into the sky. Beside him, little Maya swung her legs, a juice box resting in her lap. "Daddy," she said softly. "Did she say sorry?" He turned to her, his eyes tired but calm. "No, sweetheart," Maya's brow furrowed. "But she was mean. To me," Dr. Carter nodded. "Yes, she was." For a moment, only the sound of engines filled the silence. Then Maya looked up again. "So, she didn't get in trouble?" A long pause. "She did," he said finally. "But not the kind you can see." Maya frowned, not understanding. "Like time out?" He almost smiled. "Something like that. Sometimes the hardest kind of trouble is when you have to live with what you did." She looked back at the sky, eyes narrowing as if she could see the answer somewhere above the clouds. "Do you think she's sad now?" Dr. Carter breathed deeply. "Maybe, or maybe she will be. One day, will she say sorry then?" He looked at her. This small, honest child who'd faced hate before she even learned why it existed. His voice softened. "She will one day. But not to us. To herself." Maya sipped her juice quietly. "Because she knows she was wrong?" He nodded. "Because she'll finally feel what it's like, to be seen for who she really is." For a while, they both watched the fading light, the world turning gentle again. Maya leaned her head on his arm. "I'm glad we didn't yell," Dr. Carter smiled faintly. "That's what real strength sounds like, baby." Quiet. The airport screens no longer showed her name. Not in the headlines, not in the footage, not even in the whispers. Claire sat by her window, the same one where planes used to thread across the blue, where she once looked up and felt important. Now the sky seemed distant, refusing to hold her story anymore. Her phone buzzed, a news alert. Airline announces new diversity initiative. She read it twice, then let out a quiet laugh that sounded almost like a sigh. "Too late," she murmured. From the television, a reporter's voice echoed faintly. "The company promises change after last month's incident involving a passenger and a flight attendant." No name. No trace of her existence. Just an incident. Claire whispered to herself. "Guess I'm not even worth remembering." A knock at the door startled her. It was a courier, a letter from the airline's legal team. She opened it with trembling fingers. Inside, a single line, case closed. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just finality. She sank into the chair, eyes drifting toward the fading horizon. Planes rose and disappeared, carrying strangers to places she would never see again. In the distance, a child pointed at the sky and laughed, the sound pure, untainted. Claire watched her, feeling something ache deep inside. Her voice broke into the stillness. "They'll forget me. But the girl? She won't." And for the first time, that truth didn't hurt as much. Outside, the last light of day turned red, dissolving into gray. The world had moved on. But somewhere above, in the quiet sky that once carried her pride, her silence remained, heavy, haunting, and finally, free. Racism doesn't end in noise. It ends in silence that echoes.